House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
We are in part 3 of our series on helping you get that perfect real estate deal. And fittingly, there are 3 of us in the KUM News Zoom room: Liz, Gina, and myself, Jason. Ladies, half a day as always.
Good morning.
Okay, so now we're in the third phase. So basically, you figure out exactly what you want. You get your financials together. You figure out where your financial position is. And then you contact a bank. You start that whole process. Now, part 3 is go and find a realtor. Unfortunately, I have 2 very, very good ones who are incredibly experienced, like 60 years of real estate experience on Guam, knowing the market between the 2 of them. Not individually. That I don't. Good thing I can't get slapped on Zoom.
Hey, Gina, what, 50 years, Gina? Mine is close to 30 years.
Oh, come on. I don't know. No, I think it's almost 40. I've been doing real estate for almost 40.
He's almost 40 and I'm almost 30. So that's...
There you go. Well, the expertise that the 2 of you have collectively accrued and everything like that, it really helps our audience here. So, okay. So it's a fairly rigid process to say, okay, go find a bank. There's like, what, 6 or 7 here that you can go find out. Your banker is going to help you, figure out how much money. I mean, these are all fairly like static things. Finding a realtor, I think, is much more of a subjective thing, and maybe that a lot harder, because how do I know what is a good realtor, and how do I know, like, is it this person who's the same gender as I am, the same age range? Is it someone that my Nina said was pretty cool, that went to the same high school as me? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I just want to point out we can't discriminate based on gender,
of course,
race. So, but the honest truth is people are going to gravitate towards somebody that they're comfortable with, whatever that entails, right? And I do encourage that you find. Subjective. Yes, absolutely. And I encourage that you find, that you call around, unless you already know somebody that maybe in the family, somebody that from organizations that is a real estate person that you want to work with and you feel comfortable with them. Absolutely. But there's a couple of things that I want to point out. I know there's a lot of part-time realtors and they probably do. I could never do real estate part-time. There's just so much involved in it that it's difficult for me to say that I have the ability to do it part-time. But I do encourage that you find somebody who focuses their attention on real estate on a full-time basis, because it moves so quickly. Things get on the market, quick, and then pretty soon they're sold. And so you need somebody who's in the business daily on a full-time basis to keep their eye on it for you, because they're the ones that are jumping while you're doing your everyday business.
It almost sounds like a stockbroker
jumping on it.
Because if I tell you what my consumer preferences are for the house for my wife and I, by the way, my wife totally doesn't exist, and what my budget is, you may call me in the middle of the day, like on a Thursday, and just be like, "Hey, Jace, big deal. This is available right now. It's in Dedido. Fantastic. It meets all of your needs. You got to jump on this."
That's right. We've done just recently a number of transactions where investor would say, I'm interested in this particular property and I have a budget. And if you're on top of it and checking the system on a daily basis, you're able to say, hey, this just popped up and do you want to see it? So we've done many transactions like that. If your agent is vigilant and continues to check, then they're able to do the transactions. And if you're in a part-time job, it's kind of hard. But I'm sure there are good agents out there who are part-time as well. But it's how can you juggle your full-time job and doing real estate at the same time? And I would recommend, if you're looking for an agent, interview a few. Call them and say, hey, I'm interested in buying or I'm interested in selling. What do you have to offer? What is your specialty? Do you focus on, if you're buying, you want to ask, well, what's your track record for selling properties? And how many have you sold this year? That sort of thing. Just asking questions to make you feel comfortable with that.
Because even though I'm the ultimate customer, if I approach the 2 of you and I have no idea what the difference between Liz Duenas and Gina Campos is, you guys are basically making your pitch to me.
That's
about
right.
why you're the most fit, like according to certain criteria. Yeah, okay.
That's right. You're
Yeah,
So it's
interviewing,
the interview process, right?
you're interviewing them. And the other thing Gina and I want to, there's what's the difference between all the agents? There's a listing agent and there's a selling agent. The listing agent is the person that contracted with a seller to put that property on the market. And if I'm a listing agent and Gina has a customer, she could bring that customer to my listing and show the property. So whatever is showing in the multiple listing service, all the 600 something realtors on Guam have the ability to show that property. It's a question of giving that whole inventory based on your requirements so you can pick and choose from this list on which ones you want to see based on your budget and your requirements. So
You know,
there is a difference.
You know, so on the buyer side, finding a good buyer's agent. So this is the person that's going to represent your interests. Number one, they should be able to guide you through the process. So, you know, I ask a lot of questions when people call me because taking you out and showing you real estate is the easy part. But making sure I'm showing you the appropriate properties, that's a little bit more difficult. And then the other part of that is making sure that if you fall in love with something, you're ready to pull the trigger. Because if you find a really good property, you're not the only one looking. I have to position you so that if you find the right property and you say, oh my God, Gina, this is it, you can say that and go straight to the punchline, go straight to writing up your contract. But if you haven't been positioned properly, if you're not ready to do that, then we're going to waste time pausing. Okay, wait, you love this property? Okay, is your finances in order? Do you have your lender behind you? If you're doing cash, where are you getting the cash? Is that ready? That takes time to position. And so you got to have that. That's why I ask a lot of questions in the beginning. Are you ready? If you're not ready, what do I need to do to help you get ready? Because I understand you're busy working all day. Somebody's got to do the legwork or get everything into the right position. And so that's, you know, that's kind of what I feel representing the buyer. That's where I feel I need to put in my time and effort, is helping you get into the right position so that you're ready to, if you fall in love with a place, you're ready for the next process, the next part of the process. And so from the very beginning, I give you, these are the steps that we're going to have to take. What part of these steps are you ready for right now? So I can guide you through that. And then once you get past that, you know, this is the next set of steps. What part of that are you ready for? And I kind of just put people into the right positions. Some people are ready for all of that. You know, I sometimes feel like I'm interrogating them. That is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to ask all the right questions so that I could put you in the right step.
I wasn't going to use the analogy and say maybe you guys are interrogators. I was going to say you guys are more like Cupid, because you've said before, you know, like these type of deals are not purely transactional for me as a customer. We're relationship building here as an agent, and you guys are actually trying to figure out who I am, what I'm all about, what makes me tick, so that you can line me up with, as you said, you know, a piece of property that I can truly fall in love with. So you're like Cupid, and I'm just waiting for you one day to like hit me with the arrow.
Our objective is to match the right property. You're correct. And at
So you're matchmakers.
at the same time, when we're working with potential buyers, they, you know, listening to your realtor is critical, because we've had many buyers that we would give them some advice. Of course, it's their choice. But if we give them advice that their offer, for example, is too low because you're competing, and they don't listen, and then they lose the transaction, of course, they're disappointed. So sometimes it takes 2 or 3 transactions before they finally learn they've got to listen and see, because we know what the market is like. And if you listen to your realtor, you'll be able to go get through your transaction, and they'll guide you through it and complete the process so you actually get into a home.
And ladies, I just realized this, but your job is not that much unlike my job here as a broadcaster, because our entire existence here at KUM depends on the trust that we have earned over years and years of doing stories and talking to people with the community. And for you guys, like reaching out to a consumer, you guys have to earn their trust and say, the suggestions I'm making to you and the recommendations I'm putting in front of you are in your best interest because I know who you are.
Yeah,
But then
and
ultimately, that's up to me to actually trust you that you're actually doing the right thing.
yeah, and that's why
that's a tall order to fill.
It is, and that's why we encourage, don't just call anybody. Call around, interview people, find somebody you honestly feel comfortable with. And you're right, Jace, that comfort level is going to be personal from individual to individual. And so, I'm going to have people who call me who absolutely don't feel comfortable working with me. I get that, and I'm okay with it, because ultimately we want the customer, the client, to connect with their realtor, to feel like that person is going to represent your best interest and give you advice. It's going to help you make your best decision. And if that's not me or Liz, well, it's going to be somebody else. And we just encourage that you find the right person.
Okay, Liz, when we do shop around for the perfect realtor and we find our match on that level, how many realtors should you visit before it becomes, like too much? And I don't want to meet every single realtor on Guam. And there are 300 of you who are licensed on island?
6 plus.
100
Oh,
plus.
600.
So, I mean,
That's a lot of phone calls.
it depends on the individual. If you already interviewed 3 to 5 and you already feel comfortable with one of them, why keep the search going? It's like but then again, it's an individual choice. It's up to you how you feel comfortable. If you feel like you need more, then continue the search until you find someone that rings and resonates within you.
Like dating, right? Because there are some people that date, casually for 20, 30 years before they find. Okay. And it's so crazy. We're talking about this now in part 3 of our series because we just came off of Valentine's Day. So Gina, let me ask you, in all your years, again, like a half century of real estate experience here on Guam, how many times have you actually been, as someone's realtor, love at first sight? Have you been their first interview?
Wow, I think you need to ask the customers, because
For that
I always believe I'm it, right?
I like that confidence.
Hey, here's the answer to that question. The answer to that question, we've got clients that we've worked with for 20 and more than 20 years. So
Yeah.
Is that an answer enough that they continue to come to us? And some of our clients, 20, 30 years of service.
There's another thing. Okay, and I don't want to make this weird or awkward, but if I am someone who maybe owns a home and then I maybe invest in commercial property, like I maybe, have like a little apartment building that makes me some money on the side, and then I also invest in real estate and flip a bunch of houses and everything. Should I be polygamous and work with multiple realtors, or should I actually have the same realtor manage all of my transactions, like across all of my lines of business and property ownership?
I think it's an individual choice. Of course, we would like that you would stick with us so that we continue to serve you, since we've worked with you for a while. But there are individuals out there who feel more comfortable doing that. So, Gina and I truly believe there's abundance out there. There's room for everyone. And people have their own preferences. I've had clients who've done that. And sometimes, you want someone to be faithful, but that just doesn't happen.
It's like so-and-so is my realtor. We're exclusive.
Here's my 2 cents about this, okay? For me, it's about time. Most the people you're describing are busy. So number 1, pick somebody that you could really work with, somebody that you have a comfort level with. And that's part chemistry as well as experience and knowledge, right? Part of that is chemistry. But for me personally, if I find somebody I'm comfortable with, I'm not going to waste a lot of my time trying to educate somebody else. So I have multiple people doing multiple things, because now I'm wasting my time, not just, I'm talking if I were the customer. I like working with people who already have gotten to know my personality, my style, especially in real estate. I find I have owners who have a certain style about how they want their properties handled. They have a certain preference about what kind of customers they want me to put in. And that's subjective on their part. I follow the law, and make sure that everything is in accordance with the law. But I have some customers who have very particular preferences. I've gotten to know that over the years working with them. So they can really, at this point, say, Gina, you know what I expect? Yes, I do. Okay, well, then get it done and don't waste any more of my time asking me these questions. Absolutely. And so for people that are busy, I imagine that that's what they're looking for. The other thing is, when you negotiate, when your realtor negotiates for you, they're negotiating from, like, I'm not negotiating from what I want. I do a lot, I negotiate a lot of times and I disagree with what my client wants, but that's what my client wants. And that's how I'm going to negotiate. And so it takes time to build up that relationship. So
Okay,
for me,
how about
find the right realtor and stick to one person.
Okay, ladies, let me play devil's advocate though, because what if a customer is going down a certain path that probably won't result in the best possible value for them? I mean, again, it's all
It
subjective.
happens every day.
People fall in love for all the weirdest reasons, and if they really love this house, do you actually step in and say, like,
we give
he's just not that into you?
Yes, no, we give our honest opinion about the property, but it's a preference. Our goal is to help guide them to buy what it is they like. But again, if it's competition, we're upfront. We tell them, hey, you're competing, and if you really want this property, you've got to go for it. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. And when they lose it, the next time around, we will remind them, remember the first property you lost because you weren't willing to pull the trigger. So realtors, we know the market. We know what's happening, whether there's competition, whether the property's priced right, go for it. And if there's competition, you're going to have to give it your best shot or you will lose it. So yes, sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't, but it's lessons learned.
Okay,
our job is just to give advice, Jason. That's all we are supposed to do. Is it
within your code of ethics for the Guam Association of Realtors? If a client isn't listening, then you can lick their ears. Is that considered like ethical?
Oh, no, that's called abuse.
Yeah, that would not be cool. Okay, final question, right? Because this is a fascinating thing. We could go on like this for days. But we've been talking about the realtor and the client relationship up to this point. For people that may be watching this and they were like, hey, I think and I feel a lot of the ways that Liz and Gina were talking about, I want to help people. I want to build these relationships over time, and I want to be in that line of work. We know that a lot of the realty community, they've got a diverse amount of backgrounds. Many of you have like business degrees, business background. How many of you actually like work in have like psychology degrees or backgrounds? Because I think that is a big part of it too when you manage these relationships.
I think there's some that are attorneys, but in terms of psychology, I'm not quite sure. Psychology was a favorite subject of mine in college, but I never went.
That makes perfect sense. Everything lines up now.
Yeah,
but that's someone like that. Gina, I don't know if you know of anyone who has.
What is the crazy?
I don't, but part of our
realtor has, like, is someone a sociologist or a bug scientist and they wound up doing real estate? Or?
I mean, we have people from all kinds of backgrounds. Who I think is the great, whose background I think is the best is honestly Hank Rice.
The magician,
he came from
right?
Yes, he was a magician.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's the coolest background to get into real estate.
But then again, that's people skills because you're getting people to buy into a concept. I mean, we love Hank on this show. Like, he's an amazing illusionist and a really, really good guy. And our hearts went out to him when during the pandemic, he wasn't able to do his livelihood and continue as a magician. So he's like, you know what? To keep things going, I'm going to consider getting into the real estate market because I have many friends there. And he's actually quite successful at it.
Yes, we love him. Yeah, and he has a great background. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can be a magician, you can be a sociologist, you can be a botanist, you can be a whatever. And you can be part of this amazing community, which is really all about relationship building, as we have thoroughly and hopefully definitively driven home here in part 3. So, okay, ladies.
And service.
There you go. Give us a sneak peek. What's in part 4? Or have you even figured that part out yet?
Finding the right property.
Okay.
An
Okay,
inventory list of availability and budget, yes.
Okay, so if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our playlist because you're going to get all the latest stuff as we put it out. If you're watching on TV, that's next Tuesday. So finding the perfect property, you found a great realtor, you've secured money in the bank, you figured out who you are and what your financial position is. Now, let's get you connected with the home of your dreams. So that's next week. Ladies, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned.
House to Home, presented by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.